Hey guys, it's Gary, and in this video we're going to be adding the JavaScript functionality to our quiz websites so that they actually work. So here we go. Before we start working in JavaScript, I'm going to need to give the elements on this page that the user is interacting with IDs so that the JavaScript can work with them. So here we go. I know that the user is going to click the button, so I'll give that an ID of check 1 or something, since that's the check answer button and it's problem 1. I'm also going to need to get the information from here that the user typed in. So I'll give them an ID of input 1 as well. I'm also going to need to access the score. So I'm going to give that an ID of score score h3, kind of like its class. Yeah, that works. And then let's see. I was imagining that when they answer this, maybe we could give them a little bit of feedback about whether it was right or wrong by putting a spot below. So I'm going to put a paragraph there, and I'm going to give that one an ID of feedback 1, since it's feedback for the first riddle. And then let's see. Oh, I also might want to change the background color of this div. Maybe I'll change it to green if they get it correct, and I'll change it to red if they get it wrong. So that div is this first question box. So I'm going to give that an ID of question box 1. So there's a lot of IDs that I just added, but I think this is all the stuff that the program is going to need to interact with in order to get our first question working. And of course, we'll have to add IDs to the later questions so that they work too. So here we go. Get the important elements with their IDs. Just like always, we can start off like this. So the input, let input 1 equal, go to the document and get the element by ID with input 1 as the ID. And I'm going to do this for each one of these. I'm guessing check 1. Oops, let me change both of those in the same place. Check 1. Also, we had that feedback 1, which is going to be that paragraph down there where we give them the feedback. We had question box 1. Let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, question box 1. And then we also have the score 1. And I think I'm going to actually put the score 1 first, because I don't think I need to select the score multiple times. And for the other parts of the code here, this I'm going to have to do for each of the questions using input 2 and so on. So that way I can avoid accidentally copying and pasting this part. When I'm doing question 2, I'll just copy and paste this group. All right, so let's see how it works. I want to say that when they click this, it gets the answer from here. So that sounds like an event listener. So I'm going to program that in. Let's go to the toolbox. Let's copy and paste the 3 lines of code for the event listener. So the element that's listening for the event is check 1. And when check 1 gets clicked, I'm going to have it start off by just alerting out hello. And this will be a good check to make sure that my program is working. So I'll refresh it. I'm going to bring up the JavaScript console. So far, no errors, so I'm expecting that this will work if I click it. Nice. Okay, so my button is registering the click. Now what I really want to do is I want to get their answer from here. And we saw in the number problems and string problems that input 1 refers to this whole white box. We need to get the value that they type in. So we have that from our toolbox here. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to say let input text 1 be go to input 1 and get the value. So to test that that's working, I'm going to have it alert out input text 1. And this is a common thing that I use when I'm writing my code, is I like to check it one step at a time. That way I'll know where I made the error. So here what I'm checking is go to input 1 and get the value. Store that as input text 1, and let's alert it out to see if we got it. So here we go. The answer to this one, I have to give it away, is what has to be broken before you can use it. The answer from the riddle that I found was an egg, or egg. But since it says one word answer here, I'm just thinking I should write egg. Oh no, it still says hello. Let me refresh it. Egg. Okay, great. It's registering it. And if I type in something else, like another student answer was glow stick, nice, it registers it. Okay, so that's great. So now here comes an interesting moment for our code, which is basically we have a fork. We have to do one thing if they get the code, if they get the answer right, and we have to do something totally different if they get the answer wrong. So we've been learning this new tool today, and this is called a conditional statement. So the way the conditional statements work is they create a fork in our code, just like the behavior that I'm hoping to imitate. Unfortunately, when I copy and paste this, it copies and pastes it in a really hard to read way. So I'm going to highlight these lines of code, and I'm going to indent them. And what that looks like to me is it looks like I've got the if group here and the else group here, and they're separate. So that seems good. So here we go. I'm going to say here, what's the condition that I want to test? Well, I want to test if they wrote egg there. So I want to know, is input text 1 the same thing as the word egg? And if it is, I'm going to just start off by alerting correct. And if it's not, then it would be false. That would mean that they're not equal, that the text was not egg. Then I'm going to alert out incorrect. And of course, all of these alerts are just these momentary tests along the way to make sure that I'm not doing anything crazy before the code gets too complex. So here we go. I'm going to type in egg and do check answer. And it says correct. I'm going to type in, I don't know, just something random and press this. And it says incorrect. So that's looking good. Now, if you were really astute here, you would notice actually there's a bit of a problem. If I type in egg with a capital letter, it tells me that I'm incorrect because JavaScript does not know that this egg and this egg are the same word. So you have to be really clever here. What we can do is we can say, okay, when we get the value, let's make it so that whatever they typed in, we store the lowercase version of that as input text 1. And then because we're storing it like automatically lowercase, when we check it against this lowercase version, egg will have already become lowercase egg. So here's what that looks like. Input text 1 is go to input 1, get the value. And one of the things that's nice about these dot functions in JavaScript is that we can keep chaining them together. And in our string problems, we saw that there was this function to lowercase. So the way that this works is go to input 1, get the value egg, make it lowercase, and store that as input text 1. So now even if I type in uppercase egg, it still registers as correct. And many websites do this. Like when we're logging into a website, frequently we'll ignore capitalization in our username. And the way it does it is it turns it to lowercase before it checks against the value in the database to make sure that the username is correct. All right, so what's next? I guess I don't just want to say that it's correct. I would like to give them the feedback on the page. So I'm thinking question box. Oh no, that's not question box 1. It's going to be feedback 1. And I'm going to make the inner HTML of that equal to the string. And I'm going to use checkmark emoji there. My computer runs so slow during these videos, sorry. So if they get it right, we'll just do a big check. Let's see how that looks. Nice. Okay, that's cool. And if they get it wrong, I want to put an X there. So I'm going to delete this alert incorrect, and I'm going to say that the feedback's inner HTML should not be the X, or should not be the check. It should be the X, red. There is a red X, incorrect. Shoot. Maybe there's not. Maybe there's just the black X. Okay, well, I'll go with that. And then, shoot. No, I really think there is one. Okay, so. Ah, here we go. That's better. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to put that in the string. Okay, so now it will be a red X. And I guess I can decide here if I want to put the correct answer. So I'm going to say, make the inner HTML of that feedback element the X, and then I'll say the correct answer was egg. So let's see how that looks now. Let's give it a refresh. So I'll type in, I don't know, pancake. And then it gives me an X. The correct answer was egg. If I type in egg, it gives me the check. Awesome. Things are going well. All right, so we have the code that runs if it's correct and the code that runs if it's incorrect. And there's a variety of other things I'd like to do. I'd like to change the background color of this to green, if they got it right. So I'm going to say question box 1. And one thing that's cool about JavaScript that I'm not sure if we've seen so far is you can actually, the same way that we can change the HTML that appears on the page using JavaScript, we can change the CSS, the style of these elements. So I'm going to say take question box 1, go into its style properties, and make the background of it equal to, and I'm just going to do a simple green here, and you could probably find a better one. But what this will do is it will go into question box 1, and it will go into the style properties, which is, you can actually change any CSS property doing this, and I'm changing the background one. And then here I'm going to do the same thing for this one, except I'm going to make it red if they got it wrong. So here we go, egg. Yes, and it turns green. Awesome. That's not a great shade of green, but it's cool. Pancake. It's red. Nice. It looks wrong. It kind of messes with my red X, but that's good enough for the video. We'll make it better after the video. All right, let's see. What else do we want to do? Oh, the score, right? So here's where things are a bit complicated. I need some place to keep track of the score. So what I'm going to do is up here next to the score, I'm going to make a variable that will actually keep track not of the score location, this thing here, but will keep track of the number that their score is. So I'm going to say let score equal 0, because they start off with 0 points. And then down here, if they get it correct, I'm going to say that score should equal the old score value plus 100 points. So in this case, the score value will equal the old score value, 0, plus 100. But maybe they've already answered like question 2 correct, and this code would update with that. And here what I'm going to say is I'm going to say if they get it wrong, I'm going to say their score should be the old score value minus 100 points. So let's see if that works. So egg. Okay, score doesn't update there, but if I type score into the console, I can see that their score is 100 points. So now I just need to put the score there. So regardless of whether they got the question correct or incorrect, I want to update the score value here. So outside of the if and else, this code will always run. What I want to do is I want to say take score h3, this location here, and make the inner HTML of that equal to the word score dot dot space plus whatever their actual score currently is. So after the score updates by either going up 100 or down 100, regardless of which of those things happens, go to the score h3 inner HTML and update the score there. Let's see if that works. Nice, so we have 100 points now. So if I type in something random, they should get minus 100, minus 100. Okay, awesome. But there's a bit of a problem here. You can see that there's an infinite point hack. They just have to type eggs and keep pressing check answer. So what we're going to do next is we're going to say that once they answer the question, we want to disable the button and we want to disable the input field so they can't keep answering it for infinite points. So since that happens in both cases, we want to disable it whether they get it right or wrong. We don't want them to be able to change their answer. I'm going to do that down here. So I'm going to say take check1, the button, and make its disabled property equal to true. And I think that that's right. And I'm also going to say take input 1, the box here, and make its disabled property equal to true. And if the disabled property is true, I think that will mean it will be disabled. Let's see. I'm just going to refresh it a couple of times. Egg. Check answer. And now look at this. If I try to go in and edit it, I can't edit it, and it's all faded out. And the button doesn't work. Even if when I click it, it doesn't do the million points thing. Okay, so I think I actually have my first riddle working. Let me just confirm that by doing the wrong answer here. Pancake. Okay, the correct answer was egg, and I got -100, and I can't change them. It's disabled. Even if I press the button, nothing happens. This is definitely awesome. This is what I was hoping to have. So now all that I have to do is I have to use some really similar code, maybe copying and pasting the code that we just wrote for your future problems and figuring out how to update it. After you do that, you'll have a working quiz website that gives feedback to the user and keeps track of the score while preventing them from having an infinite score hack. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I'll see you in class.